Patty, I can't believe, but we are like 5 weeks away from moving into our RV, which means we're going to need to de-winterize it.
Absolutely.
And I thought maybe today we should talk through the process of what all we do to get the RV ready to go after being in hibernation for a while. And so let's do it in this episode of Travels with Delaney,
The podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Patrick.
And I'm Patty.
And as always, joined on the old podcast Love Seat by
The love
seat by Mr. Truman and Ms. Bess, our Cavalier King Charles Spaniels.
And he looks like he's in a licky mood again.
Yes, he's in. I don't know what's on my jeans, but
he drives you crazy.
He drives me nuts. So
you know that song,
with that
he
licking,
drives me crazy.
Oh, he actually drives she drives me crazy, but
I changed the words.
Okay.
Because I can do that.
Well, you are
I'm
allowed
creative.
to do that. Yeah, I mean you are. You take all the liberties with the song you want.
I do. I will.
I don't know. I always think, there used to be a comedian, I remember years ago, that we would have at our comedy club. I ran a hotel that had a comedy club. And do you remember he used to talk about how, don't you hate it when somebody really messes up a really good song?
Yeah.
And you're listening in the car and they're like singing and they think they're great. And not only are they not great, but they screw up the words.
Yeah.
And, there's some great lines. Like, I think you've had some lines over the years where I'm like, that's not what they're saying. You're like, that's not?
No. Well, that's what it sounds like to me.
I know. So
in my world, that's what it was.
That's what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I look up the word. So, moving on.
All right. Well,
Squirrel.
You know what we have to do.
Well, of course.
We got to do another exciting round of this or that.
All right,
Patty.
I'm awake.
So we are going to be spending next winter in Texas.
Yes.
And Texas is known for a lot of things, but one of the things they're definitely known for is their barbecue.
Yep.
So when we go out for barbecue, which one are you ordering? Are you ordering sliced brisket or are you ordering pulled pork?
Ooh. I love them both. I enjoy them both. I think I'm going to go with the brisket.
The brisket. That's a very good choice, my friend. Because honestly, I don't even know if Texas is known for pulled pork. I think a lot of times their pork, they leave whole and just slice it like
in slices.
Yeah, they do different
chunks
things like that.
Whatever.
Yeah, so that was probably a wise decision. But yeah, Texas is definitely known for briskets. And I am looking forward to finding the best brisket.
That's going to be our job.
At least in the hill country. I'm not going to say the whole state of Texas because I don't think we're going to be there that long to try
Texas,
out.
You know how big that is?
I know. It's a big state. Like,
it's huge.
It's super big. But yeah, I am very excited about trying. There's several that I've identified.
Well, we've been doing some research, and you've been watching YouTubies, and
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely several that we're going to be, even if we have to drive an hour, hour and a half, or in some cases we may have to actually hitch up and
go camp out somewhere.
Go camp out. In fact, I was actually thinking that on the way to Texas next year, I think we're going to stop up on the north, I think it's northwest side of Houston on the way down, so that we can check out Bar A Barbecue.
Okay.
Because I really want to try their barbecue. But again, and then not too far from there, I believe, is Leona.
Okay.
And Leona has this place that they serve one item and one item only.
Yeah.
And it's ribeyes, and they do them over open wood.
Yeah.
And so my understanding is there's no choices. The only choice you get is how big you want them to slice your ribeye, because they hand carve them.
Oh my gosh.
And so you get your ribeye. I think you get some kind of potato dish, maybe like I'm not sure if it's au gratin or what it is.
Yeah.
A dinner roll, and then they have a salad bar. And that's it.
Wow.
But people line up to get into this place, and it's in I think it's in an old general store or hardware or something.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I know. So I'm thinking we'll probably stop there on the way down and knock off a couple on our list. But there's...
It's all about food.
I know. It's all about food. We're going to come back to Indiana.
And have to exercise and cut
probably.
back.
So I'm guessing the camp... I will say, I noticed last summer I get a lot more exercise working at the campground.
You're running all over the place all the time. Everybody is.
Yeah, I mean, even though I have golf cart to get around, but you're moving. You're
moving a lot.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good thing. Maybe I can lose some weight this summer before we head to Texas.
I don't think we've gained a bunch being home because we've been moving a lot here.
No, I don't think so. I think when
we haven't been eating as big of meals too.
No, because when we got back from Florida, we both said we're going to try to eat a little more healthy and
be a little more wise.
Yeah,
with our choices.
And I feel like I have. I feel like some of our meals, I'm not going to say all of them lately because with moving, sometimes you just have to grab fast food and things.
Yeah.
But I would say in general, I think our meals have been much better after Christmas than they were before Christmas in terms of eating smaller portions, a little healthier type of things.
It's always hard to cut back in January because that's when my birthday is, and I love German chocolate cake. So
yeah, you ate on that cake.
I ate on it for a while, a little bit here and there.
Our friends Nick and Julie from the camp, that cake was amazing.
So good.
Yeah, so
yummy.
Anyway,
moving on.
Well, that's not what we're here to talk about today.
Another squirrel number 2.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that don't know, if you maybe are new to our podcast, number one, we have an RV channel that we've had since 2017 on YouTube called Travels with Delaney, and hence Travels with Delaney, the podcast. This is an extension of our main channel.
Yeah.
And so we are getting ready to move into our RV full time here coming up about mid-March, early to mid-March.
Sure. Yep.
And we're going to be living in our RV for approximately, I'm going to say, 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
While we transition our careers, and I can't withdraw from my retirement for another 3 years, basically.
I can't until
and so
I'd
kind of and I'd kind of like to wait. I think the only way that plan changes is if we end up finding a tiny home someplace
that we just
where we can pay cash for, and then it might happen,
Sooner.
a year earlier or something like that. But anyway,
that's the plan.
Yes. So one of the things that all RVers in the North have to do is typically winterize their RV, and even down south. Good example: Woody and Priscilla, my aunt and uncle in Texas, they winterize. I think they winterize because Texas got snow this year,
and it was cold.
They get super cold, and he just didn't want to run the risk.
Yeah. Why? Not be smart.
And I know he did because I said something to him about you guys going to go out anytime soon, and he said, I hate to. He's still worried there could be another cold snap.
Right.
And he said, I don't want to de-winterize, and then have to re-winterize. So I think they're going to wait till about March to head out with their RV
that sounds
down
smart.
there. Yeah. So even if you're down south, it's possible you've winterized. But when you get ready to start using it again,
there's some things you got to do.
Yeah, there's some things.
Just like when you winterize it.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say, well, it's just the opposite. And it kind of is.
Yeah.
But
a little more involved in that.
Yeah, and I thought, well, let's talk through our process, and that might help some of you out there listening of thinking about your checklist when you get ready to get your RV out of hibernation.
All right.
And I think the other thing is, depending on how long it's been setting in hibernation, your list may be more extensive or less extensive based upon that. So, if you winterize for a month, then I think this is probably a little different.
Yep.
Well, I think, Patty, I'm going to start with the first item that I will be doing.
Yeah.
Because I know you kind of have things you do inside, and I kind of have things I do outside. And so the first thing I will do is get our antifreeze out of our fresh water lines. That's that pink fluid that we put in.
Right.
Now, I know some people only blow their lines out, and if you do that, this process looks different. But I think for a good chunk of RVers that winterize, they use that pink fluid. And so it's actually a very simple process. All I really have to do is flip a couple switches in our wet bay, which is going to, in fact, I just have to switch it back to city water.
Okay.
And then I'll hook a hose up to our RV, turn the water on, and then I'll just have you
run
all the pink fluid out. And what you want to do is, I try to start where I think the farthest point from the water source is. Okay. So, like, we'll start in the kitchen.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
I think that's the furthest away. And we'll run the cold until we see really good, clean water. Then we'll run the hot till we see really good, clean water. And it's going to look foamy for a while.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
It'll spit and sputter.
Yep. And then we'll go in and we'll probably do the bathroom sink, the shower, and the toilet.
Right.
And then there's one other that I have to do, which is outside. And actually on our alliance, we have 2 outdoor spigots.
Right.
So I'll run both of
to make
those.
sure those are
And
cleaned
honestly, the one at the back of the trailer probably is the farthest point away. That's probably where I should start because that one's way back there.
It's really far back.
Yeah. And so that'll be the first thing I'll need to do is just get all of that pink fluid out of ours. Now, we don't put pink fluid in our fresh tank.
No.
Haven't done that in years. But if you still, and I know some people who do that, they'll put pink fluid into their fresh tank, and then they'll pump it from their fresh tank up through the system. If you do that, then you're going to have to put fresh water into your fresh tank and then dump that.
Right.
So...
But
we don't. Yeah, one more step.
We don't
there.
do that. Yeah.
And so that's step one.
Yep.
And then step two for me is when I de-winterize. That's always the time of the year when I sanitize our fresh water lines. And so the method I use is I just use water and bleach. And there's a solution, and I can't remember exactly.
Like how much of this and that?
Yeah, I can't remember. I usually have to go back and watch my video. I have a video on Travels with Delaney on how to winterize or sanitize your lines. Or I'll just Google it. If you just Google, but it doesn't necessarily take a ton of bleach.
No.
You mix that in with fresh water, and then you run that through your system. So I will open up every one of those lines that I talk about
all of them,
until I smell bleach water coming out, and then I'll just shut it off, and I usually let it sit for at least 8 hours. Now, I hear people go, I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard people say, oh, I only let it sit for a couple hours. I've heard people say, I let it sit overnight. Or our friend Jonathan says he actually does that process like 3 times.
Right, he does it a lot.
Like he'll run it, let it sit for a day, then flush it, then run more through. Like he really sanitizes. I don't do that. I do one time. So I usually let it sit for about 8 hours, and then we just start running fresh water through to get that bleach solution out of our lines.
Right.
And and usually, I hate to say it, I use the sniffer test. I just keep my nose down by the faucet.
You can tell.
You can tell.
Yeah.
And when it just smells like good fresh water,
you're good.
Then we're done. And that's really my big thing in terms of de-winterizing is me getting the water system ready to go. But you do some things while I'm doing all of that that's on the inside.
Well, while you're doing getting the pink fluid out, I help you with that and get all the running of the faucets. After you get all of the lines sanitized and all that, then I really clean the shower floor and the shower and the bathroom sinks and all the sinks in the kitchen and then the toilet. I clean all of those because sometimes there's pink.
I try when I winterize, but it drips and yeah.
Plus, it's been sitting, and I just like to make sure it's been freshly cleaned to my specs.
Right.
So,
yeah,
to my taste.
Every time, like, for a good example is, and I did not. Did I winterize? I don't think I winterized before Christmas.
I don't think so because it didn't get very cold.
Yeah, because we just ran the heat and that type of thing. But if you remember when we left for Florida, so it had been sitting since, well, really, I guess that actually maybe it was when we went for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Remember all the dead bugs?
Oh, my gosh. There's always so many. Even like when you think you've closed up your rig for the season, they get in there.
Yeah. We
had those nasty stink bugs and ladybugs, and there'll probably be some more. Even when we were in Florida, I'm like, how can this stink bug survive? It was so cold, and it found a spot to be. But yeah, so I'm always like vacuuming too. That's my next thing. Would be I'd go around and get the vacuum with the attachment and do corners and underneath and just anywhere that behind the couch and underneath things, just to try to get those bugs that might be.
And now you have your new Smocher Dyson wannabe.
That's going to be easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, it's just, to me, I just need to freshen up the trailer. I like to vacuum it all. We've already washed all the bedding. Some years we wash it all and then we pack it in our Parkla bags. Those
from
are
IKEA. Yep. Those are those. Well, at least the ones we have, they're kind of like a white opaque that you can see through. They have an orange zipper on the top, and they're great for putting linens and clothes in.
Towels and bedding and all that. And then I always like to put fresh bedding on then, so we have everything and all the towels.
Tell everybody what you do to the mattress before you make the bed.
Well, usually I spray it with Lysol.
Yeah. I figured you know what I was talking about. I'm always like, oh, the mattress smells fresh. And you're like, yeah, I sprayed it with.
Yeah, I sprayed it with Lysol. Even like, throughout the summer season, every so often, and then like especially at Christmas, we were both kind of sick. I just always every now and then give it a little spray to make sure, kind of kill any germs or whatever. But yeah, and so I do that.
We also, I will say this if I can interrupt just for a second. With the mattress, I usually will kind of just lift up on all four corners and make sure there's no issues where moisture. And if you're like, oh, you got a leak in your trailer, no, but you can get condensation potentially.
Right.
And so we don't really have to worry, but I always usually just do a spot check. And the reason we don't worry is we have a matting under ours. I believe it's called like Hypervent. You can pick it up at mattressinsider.com.
It's like crinkled up water bottles, isn't it? Kind of.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's like a plasticky, and then it's probably only a half-inch thick.
Not very
but
thick.
what it does is it creates an airflow.
So air
can go under your mattress.
Camp,
yeah, because that's usually if you end up getting mold or mildew on your mattress,
that's what's going on.
It's because the mattress is right against the wood, and then if you've had any dampness or moisture in your RV, but with ours, because we have that hyperventing mat under it just allows airflow under there. So even if there was, it's able to dry out. Yeah.
And even with like one more thing about that, I usually do kind of move the mattress around and vacuum with the attachment because of dog fur.
Right.
I'm always looking for dog fur in corners because we got the two pups. So, but yeah. So yeah, getting the bedding fresh, get everything dusted, cleaned, wiped down. I use my ultimate cloths on the mirrors and anything that the refrigerator, and yeah, I just kind of do
freshen up.
Real good once over on the trailer. Yeah.
And depending on how long it's been winterized for, sometimes you will even go through and wash things like dishes and silverware and pots and pans. If it's a short period of time, like for us, ours didn't go into storage until January 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I suppose you'll just kind of look at things.
Yeah, just look at it because, everything was really clean when we put it away. But you'd be like, well, I think I better just rinse these off real quick or, clean these up. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So a lot of what you're doing. The other thing that you didn't mention, but I know you do, is we use a product called Grandpa Gus's.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. I picked those up.
And I do also put out traps, mice traps. And so I know you go around and get all of those picked up. You just throw the Grandpa Gus's away because we change those out every month and a half. Try to. And then the bait we'll just put away for the next season.
Right.
But we get that out of there so when the kiddos show up, we don't have any issues.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Minor step, I guess, but
Well, and I was thinking the floor, but yeah.
Right. And you usually then
after the floor.
That's what I was going to say.
I usually get my what is that thing called?
Swiffer.
Okay.
Or isn't that what it is?
I guess.
We buy the wet
claws.
The wet claws, the disposable wet claws.
It's easy to just Swiffer up our floor and. Yeah.
Mop it up real good. And because usually the thing is, even when we put it away and we try to put it away clean, you're going dirty. In and out and the floor just gets dirty.
Well, especially in the winter like
What
we were.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just try to really make sure I get it all just freshened up.
Yep.
And
then we have to start reloading it because when we get ready to winterize it.
Well, you just don't want things like anything that'll freeze, like your dish soaps and shampoos. And plus, I bring that stuff out anyway because I probably use it in the cabin. And then once I reset it, I'll be like, okay, I need to go get this or hand soap, or I need to get that because I don't want to waste it. So I might as well use it here in the house.
Because I think like the dish soap, we just brought that into the house because we were like, we'll just buy a new one when we, go back into the trailer. So some stuff I know you have crated up.
Right.
Because you didn't really need it.
Yeah, I just always crate things I think might freeze and burst. When it gets really, really cold here. So
about the only thing we leave in the RV when we winterize are things like the silverware, the glasses, the pots and pans. I mean, anything liquid comes out because of freezing. Anything that food-wise, because we do not want to attract
we don't
anything.
Want any ratatouilles in
Right.
there.
And we even take out canned food because I know that would not be, but we don't want it to freeze.
Right. You might as well use it here.
You don't want your tomato paste frozen,
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, so you got to reset all that because we package up everything, and then I reset everything in the kitchen and reset everything in the bathroom and figure out what I need for us. So, yeah.
And then a few other things that I typically like to do, if not right initially at that moment, but early on in the spring is, number one, check all the sealant on the trailer. And so a good example is, because I don't go up on our fifth wheel roof, it's too high for me.
It's very high up.
So that's something Myron will do. I will have Myron come out and he will just go up on the roof. He'll, number one, if we didn't do it in the fall, then I'll have him do it in the spring, and that is he'll pull the covers off of our ACs and clean the coils for
we'll
us.
Get those all cleaned up.
And he will need to do that because even though they were clean in the fall, we took it to Disney
at Christmas.
Yeah, and so I want those double checked, and then he'll just go around and check all the openings in the roof, anywhere there's a skylight, a vent, an edge, and he just checks the sealant to make sure it's still good. And if it's not, then I'll have him, redo the sealant.
Right.
I can check then the seals on the slide out. I can check the sealant around windows because that's lower, so I'll check those. Just make, again, you just really, any place there's an opening in your RV, you just want to make sure it's still protected. And water's not getting
right. And then I know sometimes you in the outdoor storage that we have, once we get everything all good and go, you'll put a new Grandpa Gus out there.
Yeah.
Or some bait out
there.
Yeah,
because even in the spring,
those little critters are looking for a spot to nest, and we don't want them in there. So.
And if I get really ambitious,
what do you do?
I will do things like go around and check all of our sliding windows, and if they're sliding hard, I think that's just called 3-in-1 window track.
Yeah, you
lubricant.
Do that. It helps move
and
them.
Oh my gosh, so if you've got sliding windows
that are hard to move.
Yeah, and we're not sponsored by 3-in-1. We have no affiliation. I just am able to, I think it's a good product. I'm able to pick it up at, actually our local Menards carries 3-in-1.
Right.
And they have several different ones, but there's a special one for your windows. And you just squirt a little in there, and then you just slide it back and forth, and you will feel it go from kind of hard to open and close to it's just sliding easily. And that's something, if you do it, I usually only do it once a year.
Yeah.
But, things like that. I also a lot of times will check the screens on our Max Air and our in both the bathroom and the living room.
And then
those have to be
cleaned often.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when it gets just a little bit nicer out, we'll clean the screens, period. Because you get cottonwood in our area in the summer, and just kind of clean them off so that we're not looking at junk that flew into the window.
And then eventually, when it warms up, I'll probably wash the trailer again.
Yeah.
I had washed it in Florida.
Right, but it's got to be warmer to do that. Yeah. So a good, nice, sunny day would be great.
March, I'm not washing the trailer.
No, because you never know in March.
Right.
It's a little
we're de-winterizing a lot earlier than most people around here would, because that's our new home. And
a lot of people, it's probably more like Memorial Day weekend. Maybe.
Or
mid-May, maybe.
Or even April. That's the one thing I will say, Patty. I think when we first started RVing, either we just didn't know you could go camping in the winter, or people just didn't do it nearly as much. I feel like every year people are opening up their campers earlier and earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think there was a time where you were right. I think it was May before people were breaking out the camper. But anymore, I'll give you a good example. I would say we're probably 80% full for the weekend of April 25th.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and then we're almost sold out for the first weekend in May, the Cinco de Mayo. And we pretty much stay busy at Happy Acres from then on out. And I don't know that if you go back 10 years ago, if that would have been the case. I don't think you would have been super busy until maybe Memorial Day weekend. I think people are, realizing like, hey, we spent big bucks on this RV.
We want to use it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been times that around the 20th of April or so, it could be 70 degrees out. You could have beautiful weather.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes it could be snowing.
It could be snowing. Yeah, I think, was it last year we had some snow in May? Early May or something?
Early May. It was
spit
scary.
snow. And,
it was like, what?
So.
Yeah. It was like April Fool's joke in May.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're going to be doing here in about 5 weeks. So let us know in the comments if what did we miss? What things do you do to get your RV ready? That maybe we should be doing.
Yeah.
Which would mean we've been doing it now wrong for 20 years.
Well,
Can you believe this is our 20th year of RVing? We bought our first RV in 2005.
Oh my gosh.
And crazy. And I remember I had a friend who made a comment. She said, you guys will get tired of it and get rid of it. Remember that?
Yep.
And said, you always do that. You'll get into something really hot and heavy. And
well, when you say stuff like that, that kind of makes you want
we've
to
been
going.
camping out of spite for 20 years. No, that's not why we. but no, RVing to us now obviously is a way of life, and I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I can't imagine not RVing, whether it's seasonal RVing or whether it's travel with
weekend,
the RV. I don't know. Maybe it's not for everyone. I think that's
that's true.
I think that's a fair statement. I think we saw people in 2020 go out and buy RVs and then realize, because I think a lot of people, they were just seeing that they couldn't fly to the Bahamas or they couldn't get on a cruise ship, and they're like,
place to get out.
Yeah,
how to get out.
But I think once they got the RV and they were like, what's a black tank? And
what do I do with this?
They're like, well, we don't have to do that at the all-inclusive resort. Well, this isn't an all-inclusive resort. So, I think there are some people that realized RVing was not what they thought it was.
Right.
But I think we know it's such a huge industry that a lot of people do. So, including all of you that are listening, most likely.
Take care of your investment.
Yeah.
Winterizing and de-winterizing. You got to take care of it.
Yeah.
It's like a house.
I would say your asset, because the RVs are not an investment unless
putting your money into it.
Normally you think of an investment as something that's going to go up in value. I'm getting technical.
You're getting very technical. I just meant the money you spent.
Yeah, the money you spent. I totally understand. I knew what you meant.
Why do you get technical?
I just know that there's always somebody that leaves a comment like, RVs aren't an investment. We know.
Well, I teach English and kids, so that's my thinking.
Yeah, so
I
teach finance and business.
There you go.
So yeah, but anyway, I just thought I'd save somebody from heading to the comments section and leaving a nasty comment. So. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us once again as we slowly approach episode 100, which I believe is only about maybe 7 or 8 weeks away. I still don't know what we're going to do for that 100th episode.
We need something sparkly.
Yeah, if anybody's got any ideas, like a topic oh yeah, I just threw some of those away in our cleanup process.
Yeah, well, it's been hard to keep.
Well, we're going to make it extra special, and I know who else is going to help make it extra special, and that is our friend and producer, Mr. Jim Kuzman, who makes every episode special with his talents on editing the audio. I don't know how he does it. Actually, I do know how he does this, because one time he screen recorded editing and talked me through it. I was like, I didn't know what he was talking about.
Very meticulous.
Very meticulous.
Yes.
I just slapped the audio onto the video. And
well, that's why we sound great when Jim does it.
I know.
So, yeah.
All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for this week. And until next time, we'll see ya.
On down the road.
Bye.
Travels with Delaney. We'll see you on down the road.